Thomas Tuchel and Poch out of the race to become the new Manchester United manager. Does this mean INEOS will be forced to keep Erik ten Hag? Plus, new bids apparently going in this week for Joao Neves and also a bid for Jarrad Branthwaite. These are some of the topics we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please do me a favour, smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 200 likes on this morning's show. And if this is your first time watching the channel, please do subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, I will be live throughout the whole of the transfer window. I usually go live in the morning, live in the evening, and if anything breaks during the day, I do go live as well. Yeah, so much to get into on the show today. Let's start off with some transfer news. We'll leave the manager stuff till the end because I think, we speak about the manager so much. So let's go through all the transfer stuff first. And the first person I want to talk about is Jadon Sancho. Fabrizio Romano came out last night saying that Manchester United remain 100% decided on selling Jadon Sancho, regardless of who the new manager is. And you know what? I applaud that. I really, really do applaud that, to be honest with you. I know everyone's very critical of INEOS at the moment. I know everyone's, questioning the trust, which I will talk about later on. But in relation to Jadon Sancho, he doesn't have a future at Man United. I would be absolutely disgusted if Jadon Sancho got a second chance after what he did to this club, right? But they sack Erik ten Hag. That would be disgusting. I'm sorry. It would be. If they brought Jadon back and say, Southgate was the manager and Jadon Sancho got a second chance, honestly, that would make my blood boil. So I applaud INEOS for this. The story goes on to say that Manchester United are looking for around £40 million to sell Jadon Sancho, with strong interest from Borussia Dortmund, but also other clubs interested too. So, you know what? It hasn't worked. Jadon, I wish you all the best, but you need to move on. I'm sorry. I personally don't think the performances he's been putting in for Dortmund have been that special. I've watched him quite a few times this season. He's got the same amount of goals and assists as what Antony has since January. Both of them have. And 99.9% of Man United fans probably want Antony to leave the club. So, yeah, I think getting rid of him is 100% the correct decision. Now, obviously, we're going to lose a lot of money. £40 million is about... I think we paid £70 million for him, didn't we? So we're going to lose about £30 million. But when you look at his wages as well, I think he's on about 200k a week. You're not going to get any more money for him than that because, Dortmund aren't going to give Jadon Sancho 200k a week. Other top clubs probably won't give Jadon Sancho 200 grand a week. So they've got to factor this all in, don't they, when they're putting in their bid. I think 40 million would be... I'd actually be happy with 40 million. I think he could go for less than that, to be honest. I think even around the 30, 35 million mark would probably be fair because, let's be honest, Man United don't want him back. So it makes Manchester United's bargaining power pretty hard if other clubs know that we don't want him, if other clubs know that we want to sell him. But yeah, let me know how much you think Jadon Sancho is worth in the comment section. How much would you be looking to get for Jadon Sancho? I think 40 million is fair. I would take that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Right, let's move over to Joao Neves, a player I really, really like, somebody who I'm desperate for Manchester United to sign. 19 years of age, obviously playing his football over in Benfica. In Portugal for Benfica. He's already in the Portuguese national team. He's been in the first team for Benfica, I think, for the last 2 seasons. Now, Man United reportedly had a bid of £51 million rejected last week. He's got a release clause of around 120 million euros. Crazy money. And we know that Benfica are notorious for getting the amount of money they want. They did it with Joao Felix. They did it with Darwin Núñez. They've done it time and time again, Benfica. Who else have they sold? Ruben Dias. Benfica always get the money they want. Now, will Man United pay the release clause? I don't think they will, personally. I do think there's a deal here to be done. But I think it's still going to be a hell of a lot of money. The story that I'm reading this morning is that apparently Manchester United would be willing to offer around 80 to 85 million pounds, which is still, 15 million under the release clause. I mean, if I was Benfica, I would take that. But as I said, Benfica never really seemed to sell their players for less than the release clause. It was the same with Enzo Fernandez last season, wasn't it? Rewind back to last season, yeah? Chelsea put in a bid for Enzo Fernandez at the beginning of the transfer window. I think Chelsea put in about 5 bids for Enzo Fernandez throughout the whole transfer window. It went on for months and months and months and months and months. And then on deadline day, or the week of deadline, the end of the transfer window, they paid his release clause. And that kind of shows to me how Benfica work. It was kind of like what happened with us and Anthony, wasn't it? We messed around for the whole transfer window, and then a couple of days before the end of the window, we paid 100 million euros for him. And I think INEOS have got to be really, really careful here, because they're coming into this club and they're trying to show us that they're going to be treated seriously and they're not going to be the laughing stock of the transfer market. That's what they've said that they want to do. But there's deals like this that they've got to be very, very careful about. If they manage to get him for less than his release clause, I think that would be really, really impressive, to be honest, because Benfica have a track record of not selling people for less. But it'd be interesting to see what you guys think about Joao Neves. Do you think he is the player we're desperately looking for? For me, I personally just think he is the next Rodri. I know there's the obvious comparisons. They're both Portuguese. They're both, central defensive midfielders. But I think he's as good as what Rodri is. I think he can become effectively our Rodri, and I actually do think that, for 85 million, he's probably worth it, because he's only 19 years of age. He's already playing unbelievably for Benfica in the Champions League as well. So before people say, oh, it's only the Portuguese league, he plays in the Champions League. He plays for the national team against other top teams. And if you watch this kid play, he is quality. He's absolutely quality. And a midfield three of Bruno Fernandes, Kobe Mainoo, and Joao Neves would honestly be spectacular. In my opinion, that's a midfield that could challenge for the title. Maybe not in the first year, maybe not in the second year, but that midfield could challenge for titles. I genuinely believe that. Like I said, not immediately. I'm not saying we buy Joao Neves and we win the Premier League next season. I'm just saying, as part of a project, you would then have 2 midfielders in Mainoo and Joao Neves who are both 19. Let that sink in for a minute. I mean, how old's Rodri? Let's have a look. I mean, Rodri, I reckon he's probably 30 now. I know, Rodri's only 27. Okay, still. Rodri's 27. These guys are 19. They've got 8 years to get to the level of a player like Rodri. If we were to sign them, they could literally be here until, and they're in their 30s. You get 10 years out of them. So when you look at that over a long period of time, right? You pay £85 million for them, but they're at the club for 10 years. That's only like 8 million, 8.5 million a season. So when you look at it like that, I think you can justify it. But it all just depends on whether Man United can do it. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a little favour and smash a like. We've got over 200 people watching already, which is absolutely amazing. I've been away all weekend, so this is the first show back. So yeah, please do me a little favour and smash a like on the video now. If everyone likes the video now, we will hit our like target of 200 likes. So please go and do that. And if you are new, first time watching, please do subscribe as well. I'm live at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. So make sure you subscribe and get involved in the channel. But yeah, get your comments in about Joao Neves. Let me know. Would you like to see Joao Neves at Manchester United? Do you think he's the missing piece of the puzzle? And how much money do you think would be a fair price for him? As I said, the release clause is there, £100 million. I think that's too much, personally. I think if we could get him for 80, 85, I honestly think that would be an incredible business. I know it's a lot of money, but when you look at the age, you look at what he's achieved so far, you think that he's the exact profile we need. He's a number 6. He's a CDM. He's what we don't have. And he's, in my opinion, going to be a world-class CDM. I think he ticks every single box. Now, there is a lot of interest in this guy, just to give you the full picture. Arsenal are interested. Apparently Man City are interested as well. But Man United are apparently the only one who've actively put in an offer. The offer we put in was embarrassing, £51 million. You're never going to get that, What? There's some breaking news coming out here. I mean, this is absolute rubbish. There's some story coming out. Sometimes I see these stories pop up and it just completely blows my mind. So a Madrid newspaper, quite a reputable one, but after I've read out this story, I think we're going to put them straight in the bin. But so a reputable Madrid newspaper are reporting this morning that apparently new Barcelona manager Hansi Flick has identified Kobbie Mainoo as his main target for this summer. It says Barcelona manager Hansi Flick wants to build his midfield around Kobbie Mainoo, and the La Liga side have apparently offered £8.5 million plus Rafinha in a swap deal for the England international. I mean, do they think it's April Fool's Day or something? 8.5 million plus Rafinha. Make it 100 million plus Rafinha, and we probably would still say no. Like, I was going to ask you guys this, right? If Benfica genuinely think that Joao Neves is worth 100 million, 19 years of age, how much is Kobbie Mainoo worth then? Surely he's worth the same as Joao Neves, if not more. Same age, had the same impact in their first couple of seasons, both in the national team, both start for their clubs. So yeah, I mean, that's crazy. You've got to be really, really careful in the transfer window because some of the stories that come out are just laughable. And I think I might take a picture of this one, right? And at the end of the transfer window, this could be quite a fun video. At the end of the transfer window, I'm going to take a screenshot of it now. I will bring you all of the funniest news stories we've had of the transfer window. I'll do a video at the end of the transfer window. Let me know if you like the idea of that. I think it sounds like quite a good bit of content. It'll be different. So I'll collate all of the funny stories we see over the window and I'll bring them all to you because, you know, we're going to be linked to, we'll probably get a story linking us to Vinny Jr. next week and to God knows who, you know. Manchester United are constantly in the news because obviously we get the most attention. But this is probably the funniest story I've seen so far this window that supposedly Hansi Flick and Barcelona have offered 8.5 million and Rafinha for Kobbie Mainoo. I mean, oh my God. Yeah, absolute laugh, isn't it? The likelihood of that story being true, I would probably say is 1%. I'm sure they like Kobbie Mainoo, but yeah. Big ups to Fred, who's just gifted a membership. Thank you for all your support, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Whoever just got gifted the membership, please do make sure you say thank you to Fred in the chat. Let's see what people are saying in the comment section then quickly. Let's have a look. Stephanie says, Mainoo's worth 200 million. Fair enough. Jay says, I strongly believe it takes a manager at least 2 years to know what needs to be fixed at a corrupt, broken club like us. Sacking them every 2 years resets the rebuild process. Mate, I 100% agree with you. We'll talk about Erik ten Hag in a minute. I wanted to save that till the end because I'm probably going to go off on a rant. I'm not happy about it. I've been away for the weekend, right? Obviously, I still keep up to date with what's going on. I was away for the weekend. I was in Wales, middle of nowhere, no signal, so I couldn't do any videos. But I've been obviously following what's been going on at Man United, and I have a lot to say. So yeah, it's probably going to be an explosive second half of the video, let's say. And obviously, I'm going to get all you guys' opinions and stuff as well. But yeah, let's move over to Jarrad Branthwaite quickly then, because I think this is somebody who I think Man United are very, very interested in signing. Apparently, Everton need to sell players by the end of June to align with profit and sustainability rules. I think the new kind of period starts from July the 1st. So they have to, they have to do some sales effectively. Now, multiple different outlets are reporting that apparently Man United are going to submit a bid for Jarrad Branthwaite. Cool, that sounds good. The type of money that's being asked for is ridiculous, I think. Absolutely ridiculous. They want 75 million for him. I don't think he's worth that. I think he's worth about 50 million personally. He's a good player. I mean, he hasn't gone to the Euros, which probably has actually done us a favour. Lewis Dunk's been picked over him. Ezri Konsa's been picked over him. Gea's been picked over him. And he hasn't gone. Which, I don't know, make of that what you will, but I don't really see how they can say he's worth 75 million. I mean, how much is Ezri Konsa worth? How much is, those players worth if Jarrad Branthwaite's worth 75 million? For me, I genuinely think about 50 million, absolute tops. My kind of thinking behind this is you look at the John Stones transfer. I think, John Stones was the same age as Jarrad Branthwaite. He was playing at the same club at Everton. He's English. Obviously, the English tax makes them more expensive, whatever. And he went for 55 million euros, which at the time was about 45 million pounds, right? And that's what I'm basing my thinking off. John Stones at the time was about the same quality player as Jarrad Branthwaite. So I don't see how Everton think we're going to pay 30 million more than what Man City paid for John Stones. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, for me personally, I like Jarrad Branthwaite, and I think he would be a good addition to the team, but not for 75 million. United 75 says, I live in Wales and I always get good signal. Yeah, I was in the Brecon Beacons, like proper middle of nowhere, no phone signal at all. I know most places in Wales get signal. I should have specified where I was. I was in the Brecon Beacons National Park, which is like just mountains. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, but the signal is really bad. There's no phone signal. Obviously there's Wi-Fi, but the connection was so slow. So yeah, obviously doing a video with like every word I said would have been like robotic, like bap, bap, bap. It wasn't really possible. Amnat says Branthwaite isn't worth 70 million. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Someone says Kieran Branthwaite possible to be the second Harry Maguire, maybe. And they say I would not spend more than 40 to 45 million. Yeah, I mean 40 million would be a good deal. Somebody else says 40 million for Branthwaite tops. Harry Maguire haunts me. I mean, that's a really good point. If Harry Maguire had cost us 40 million, I think he would have actually been a good signing. I think the fact we paid, 75, 80 million, that's what makes Harry Maguire such a bad signing is the transfer fee. Like, in a certain system, Harry Maguire is a half decent player. He probably is like a 30, 40 million pound player. But we paid 87 million euros for Harry Maguire, which is, about 80 million pounds. And that's why I think he's taken so much criticism. And that's why the Man United fan base, seem to mock him so much, because he is one of the most expensive centre-backs in the history of Premier League. And he clearly isn't, the quality isn't there, is it? Right, let's keep on the transfer-related stuff for a little bit longer. Everyone who's just joined the video, we've got over 400 of you watching now. Please do me a really quick favour. Smash a like. It takes probably half a second. And it really helps to bring more people into the channel. It will allow us to do bigger and better things in the future. So if you are able to give it a quick like, please do that. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. We're only 10 subscribers now, Ray, from 23,100. So please go and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some outgoings quickly. There's a story this morning coming out from a reputable Turkish outlet saying that apparently Galatasaray have made an offer to sign Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which we already knew about. But it also says that they're interested in signing Scott McTominay. I mean, that would be pretty mad, wouldn't it, if McTominay went to Galatasaray? I can't see that happening, to be honest, but yeah, I would say the likelihood of that is very, very small. The same with Wan-Bissaka. I just can't see him going to Turkey. I think if Wan-Bissaka leaves, it will probably be to Crystal Palace. But obviously, I'll keep you updated on that one. There's a bit of an update on Mason Greenwood as well, again, coming out from the same outlet, that apparently Fenerbahce have now inquired about signing Mason Greenwood. Obviously, Jose Mourinho has just become the new Fenerbahce manager. Jose Mourinho obviously worked with Mason Greenwood at his time at United, and apparently Mourinho wants to bring him to Fenerbahce. So that's another one to keep an eye on. Obviously, Juventus are interested, Atletico Madrid are interested. There's loads of clubs interested in Mason Greenwood. We should find out more about Mason Greenwood's future in the next couple of weeks. So I'll obviously keep you updated on that as and when I get more news on it. Let's see what people are saying in the comments quickly before I... Somebody says Harry Maguire was never a good player. He could have made a good wrestler. Okay, I've never heard that before, but fair enough. Romano says Everton are desperate. We shouldn't offer anywhere over 40 million for Branthwaite. Fair enough. Stephanie says Branthwaite equals Maguire or Stones. That's the question. I think Branthwaite's better than Maguire personally. I think he's a little bit quicker. I think he's a bit better on the ball. I think he's a bit taller. I think he is a better player, but it might not work. CBK says, why don't we try and swap Harry Maguire for Branthwaite? I mean, Everton were interested in Maguire last summer. Is there a world where Everton... I mean, they have got Sean Dyche. Maguire would do incredibly well at Everton. He would do amazing. I think it would be a very good move for Harry Maguire. But will it happen or not? Probably not. I think again, the wages will be an issue for Harry Maguire. Like, Harry Maguire's on about 200k a week. That was why we couldn't sell him last summer, was because of his wages. He's on 190k a week, which if you compare that with, say, Branthwaite, right? At Everton, he is currently earning, let's have a little look. This just sums up our situation. Branthwaite, who Everton think is worth 75 million, earns 35 grand a week at Everton, right? Branthwaite on 35k, Maguire on 190k. He's on nearly 6 times the amount Branthwaite's on. So even if there was some world where we tried to sell Maguire to Everton and we bought Branthwaite, the wages would be a problem for them because, Everton don't pay massive wages. And a lot of these players who, move from Man United, etc. That's why loan deals and stuff seem to happen more because, I'm looking now. So Everton's highest earning player is Jordan Pickford on 125k a week. And he's their first team goalkeeper. He's probably their best player, right? Whereas Harry Maguire, who was like a 5th choice centre-back for us until last season, is on 75k a week more than Jordan Pickford. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's all a bit of a mess, isn't it? Romano says, have you got any news on on Bruno Fernandes? No, mate. My understanding with Bruno is that he wants to understand what the project is, the same as us. He wants to know who the manager is. He wants to know what players are going to be signed. He wants to, understand what the vision is. It seems like the players are in exactly the same boat as us. They're frustrated. They're worried about what's going on. What direction are we going in? We've not been told anything. I think if INEOS get their act together, Bruno Fernandes will stay. I think if it carries on the way it is, God knows what will happen. Fred says, would you sell Bruno Fernandes for a massive fee if it was offered? I personally would, yeah. I definitely would. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the manager in a minute. I'm just going to read out the results of the poll. So I asked a question, which if you're watching it back on repeat, you can let me know as well. And the question was a simple one. Do you trust INEOS? 72% of you say you don't trust INEOS, and 28% of you say, yes, you do. Let me know. Do you trust INEOS? God, do I trust INEOS? I do at the moment. I think we have to. But I'm worried. Let's talk about the manager anyway, and then I can give all my thoughts, okay? So, obviously, we haven't spoke since Friday, so there's quite a lot to get into. Thomas Tuchel apparently had a meeting with Jim Ratcliffe last week in Monaco. That was the headline that was running for most of Saturday. And then since then, Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that apparently Thomas Tuchel has walked away from the Manchester United job. Now, my understanding is this, that apparently Thomas Tuchel was desperate for the Manchester United job, went and met Jim Ratcliffe, but INEOS don't want to proceed talks with him. So instead of Thomas Tuchel looking bad, Thomas Tuchel's briefed a story to the press saying that he doesn't want the job. He clearly does want the job. Thomas Tuchel was desperate for the Manchester United job. Now, the same with Poch. Apparently Poch is out of the race to become the Man United manager. But the key thing I want you guys to understand here, right? Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are still speaking to managers. They're speaking to Tuchel. They're speaking to Poch. They're speaking to De Zerbi. Okay? So if it turns out that they keep Erik ten Hag, that probably is just because the manager they didn't want isn't available. Does that make sense? Sorry, the manager they want isn't available. And we have to be really, really careful about that, I think, because they can make out that, oh, we've done our review and Erik ten Hag's the right man. If Erik ten Hag was the right man, why were you speaking to Thomas Tuchel in the first place? Why were you speaking to Poch? Why were you speaking to De Zerbi? If you were that sure about the project that Ten Hag is part of, you wouldn't be speaking to a new manager, would you? Just think about it logically. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's just put this in a really, really simple analogy for you or me, a normal person. Imagine you're with BT, yeah? Your internet's with BT. You're really happy with the signal. You know, your connection's amazing. It never lags and you never have an issue. Really happy. And you're going to continue with BT. You love BT. You've even got a BT t-shirt anyway. It's stupid, right? You like BT. And then you suddenly decide, oh, I'm going to call up Sky. I'm going to call up Virgin Money. I'm not interested in actually giving them my internet contract, but I'm just going to speak to them. Like, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, if they want Erik ten Hag and they like him, they're happy with him, then they would have just kept him. They would have announced after the game that we're going to keep him for the next season. He's got 1 year left of his contract. There's nothing else to say. But instead, Jim Ratcliffe's meeting Thomas Tuchel in Monaco. INEOS were meeting with Kieran McKenna, Gareth Southgate's representatives. They've been meeting all of these people. And my honest feeling, and I'm going to say this now, is that Gareth Southgate is the man they want. I've heard that from a few people. I've seen that on a couple of different articles and stuff, that apparently if Gareth Southgate wasn't part of the Euros right now, that would be the man they would be going for, 100%. I watched the England game on Friday where we lost to Iceland. It was absolutely embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Like, Gareth Southgate is not a good manager, I'm sorry. And if Gareth Southgate becomes the Manchester United manager, it will literally make me sick to my stomach. I'm sorry, it will. And I'll say it again. The way that this whole story has happened is an absolute disgrace. It really, really is. There's no other word to describe it. It looks unprofessional. It's embarrassing. And I feel bad for Erik ten Hag. But to give you some more context on what's going on, Erik ten Hag is now back from his holiday. I know, obviously, for anybody who was unaware, the day after the FA Cup final, Erik ten Hag went off on a 2-week holiday. He returned yesterday. Apparently, he's back at Carrington today. So we should find out what's going to happen in the next couple of days now, because he's back. But it doesn't look particularly good, does it? You know, when you see players that we want to sign already moving to other clubs, obviously Tosin going to Chelsea as an example, Benjamin Sesko apparently in talks with Arsenal. Like, other clubs are doing deals, right, at the moment. We're supposedly putting in bids for Joao Neves, but I'll be honest with you guys, I feel like this is just a smokescreen. You know? I feel like they're just trying to keep the fans happy by putting out these stories that, oh, we're going to go for Joao Neves. Oh, we're going to go for blah, blah, blah. I don't buy it personally, being completely honest. Like, if you don't know who the manager is, you're saying you don't have any money, you're saying you need to sell players. How on earth are you going to suddenly go and sign Joao Neves? For one, we don't have the money. And for two, imagine if Joao Neves came to Carrington. So who's the new manager? Oh, we don't know. We haven't decided yet. It might be Southgate. Oh, okay. Who are the coaches? Oh, we don't know yet, because if Ten Hag gets sacked, all of the coaches will go. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would any player want to come to Manchester United at the moment? You don't know who the manager is. You don't know what the vision is. You don't have a director of football because he's on gardening leave. The CEO, Omar Barada, doesn't start till next month. Like, you're not in the Champions League. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I think everyone was really, really behind INEOS, you know? I think me included, I was really, really supportive of them. I said, you know, maybe it wasn't what we all wanted. I know a lot of people wanted the debt gone. They wanted the Glazers gone. That hasn't happened. But I think a lot of this fan base have come together and united to back INEOS. But I think now a lot of people are already questioning them, which is completely fair. It's completely correct to be questioning them, because so far we haven't really seen much, have we? Being completely honest. Like, and I know it's very early days, and that's why I'm saying you've got to be cautious in your criticism, because it is still early doors and things can change. But if every single transfer is treated like this Erik ten Hag signing saga, then I'm worried. If every single decision about the stadium or about a new coach or whatever is treated like this Erik ten Hag saga, I'm worried, because Erik ten Hag is effectively the highest ranked member of staff, isn't he? He's the manager. And he's been dragged through the mud by INEOS for the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know, their silence has been deafening. And that to me shows me that they don't want Ten Hag. They can't want Ten Hag. And I think that they've now been backed into a corner where they've realised they don't have any other option. And my concern for this is, even if they keep Erik ten Hag, I think he's going to be literally one game away from being sacked. If we lose badly against someone, he'll get sacked, which is almost actually worse. And it's a really difficult position to be in, because I know people who are Erik ten Hag in are going to be really happy if he stays. But in the back of your head, you know that INEOS don't want him. You know that they were speaking to Thomas Tuchel, Southgate. And remember this, right? Southgate will be available in a month's time. So imagine we start the season in August, right? And we lose our first game. And then Gareth Southgate's available. Are you really telling me that they're going to say, oh no, we're going to back Erik ten Hag? They haven't backed him after we just won the FA Cup. Like, why would they suddenly turn around if we have a bad start to the season and say, we've decided we will back Erik ten Hag now? They won't. They'll sack him and they'll bring in Southgate because he'll be available. He won't have, it's frustrating, and it does concern me. It really, really does. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. I mean, let's do a little, I'll tell you what, let's do a little poll of Erik ten Hag in or out, because we haven't done one for ages. Do you want Erik ten Hag to stay? And you can get in the comment section as well, guys. So if you're watching this back on repeat, let me know. Just write Erik ten Hag in or Erik ten Hag out. I'm very much Erik ten Hag in, but I do worry a little bit, to be honest, because I do just fear that he's one game away from getting sacked, to be honest. Do you know what I mean there? If we start the season badly and they're already questioning him now, do we really think they're going to stick with him? I don't know. It's really difficult. It's a really difficult situation to be in, and it's really hard to, fully get behind INEOS at the moment, because I think everybody in the fan base is worried. Everybody in the fan base is asking questions, and everybody in the fan base is losing faith and trust, and they've only been in play for 6 months. I think we were all very, very welcoming to them, even though they've essentially facilitated the Glazers, kept the debt. But we all did kind of get behind them at first, and said, we're excited about them. It's going to be better than blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know where this story is going to go, to be honest. I personally do just feel that INEOS have been backed into a corner and they don't have any other option now, so they're going to stick with him. But as soon as a better option comes up, i.e. Gareth Southgate, after the Euros, I see Erik ten Hag probably being sacked then. So it's difficult. It's like, it's bittersweet, if that makes sense, I'll be happy that Erik ten Hag stays, but I'm constantly going to be looking over my back thinking, if we lose a game, it'll be like, oh, right, he's gone, and Southgate will come in. Does that make sense? Because they need to come out and either say, they effectively, for me to be comfortable with this whole thing, they need to come out and say, we're going to give him a new contract. We've sat down with him. We're going to change his role. This is going to be his new role. He's going to get a 3-year contract. We've seen how Arsenal have, over 5 years with Arteta, their project has worked as an example. We're going to give Erik ten Hag a 5-year project. He's been here for 2 years. We're going to give him another 3 years. And then at the end of those 3 years, if we're not where we want to be, then we'll look at other options. That kind of thing. That would be the sensible option for me. But just to say, oh, he's got 1 year left of his deal, we'll keep him and see what happens. Like, that's just dumb. If you want to sack him, then sack him. Get on with it. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. I just think it's been handled terribly. I think it's really, really not the way that you should deal with any form of life, let alone football. Like, imagine if you were at work, right? Like, I keep trying to think of this as if it was me. Imagine if you were at work and you just won an award for your company, right? And then you hear that your boss is looking for somebody, interviewing people for your job. You'd be like, what? And then they turn around and say, oh no, we've decided actually we want to keep you. It's just not good. And I think that I can see why people keep linking the Glazers to INEOS, and comparing them, because they are acting like them effectively. And being honest, I don't know. We'll wait and see what happens. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you to everyone who's joined me on the show this morning. Thank you to all the new members. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Please do make sure to smash the like button before you leave today. Subscribe to the channel as well. I'll be back at 6 o'clock today. Obviously, if we get any news about Erik ten Hag between then and now, I will go live. So make sure you hit the notification bell. Hope everyone has a great day, whatever you're up to. I'll speak to you all at 6 p.m. UK time.